ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. So we are on chapter lesson number 13. So this speaks about the fall and the rise of human beings. In lesson 12 we saw about the Mahavakyas, 4 Mahavakyas which are main, and how the Mahavakyas reveal the identity of Jiva and Brahma. Now if Brahman is that pure consciousness, infinite, absolute peace, bliss, knowledge, all that, then why is it that we as individuals feel we are ignorant, we are miserable, we are finite, we have pain, we have sorrow? So it looks like a contradiction. If my nature is that pure consciousness, how did I become this? That's a natural question that is always going to rise. That forgetting, my pure nature as consciousness, bliss, absolute peace, I've fallen down to this state of miserable existence. So the rishis, they contemplated on this. They made inquiries that what is the reason? Because the intellect always wants to know the cause. That why did I fall? What happened? Vedanta, as we know, does not accept that this fall is real. Vedanta keeps saying that even right now when we are this limited entity, we are still in our true nature, pure consciousness only. But the only thing is that we are ignorant of this fact. We are not aware because we identify with the body, mind, intellect. And so Vedanta tries to bring us back to that knowledge and makes us aware that when I don't know who am I, the non-apprehension of the truth creates the misapprehension that I am the jiva. And as one is the jiva, then one goes through 3 states of experiences. The waking state, in which one experiences the whole waking world, in which the buddhi is active and there is a law of cause and effect that functions here, and we see things very real. Every night we go to sleep, we again come back, we see the same world. So this waking world appears to be very real to us. From the waking, we go into the dream state. This dream state, we create the entire dream world, the whole dream is projected. And this dream world, while one is in the dream world, it appears very real. And it will have an effect even on the body when suppose one wakes up with a shock. One may be sweating. But upon waking up, one realizes, sorry, that was just an illusion. And when we go into the deep sleep state, then we don't experience anything. Body, mind, intellect, all are dormant. There's only ignorance and vasanas. So the idea here is that the jiva goes through waking, dream and deep sleep state. When one is going through one state, the other two vanish. When is in the waking, one is in the waking state, dream and deep sleep not there. When one is in dream, waking and deep sleep not there. When one is in deep sleep, waking and dream are not there. So the jiva goes through the states one by one. And still, when the jiva is going through each of these, while one is going through the waking, it appears very real. While one goes through the dream, it appears very real. In deep sleep, of course, there is ignorance, so one doesn't give reality to that. One is not aware of anything in that state. But the other states get negated when one is in one particular state. So the point here is that when we give reality, while I'm in the waking state, I think waking is very real. But when I'm in the dream, waking becomes false, dream becomes very real. And the question always is, which is more real? You see, we generally consider waking as the real. Because as we said, we wake up into the same world, same people, same things. In dream, every day it is something different and it's a projection. So between waking and dream, we generally give more reality to the waking state. You know, Janak Maharaj's famous story is that he was a great king of Mithila, and he had his guru also, who was Ashtavakra Muni. So one night, as he went to sleep, he started dreaming that he has become a beggar. There's no money with him. He's begging for food. There are no proper clothes. In such a pathetic condition, he has come. And it was a shock to him when he woke up. Now, when he woke up, he had a doubt. So he went to his guru and he asked him, am I the king who dreamt that he is a beggar? Or am I the beggar who is right now dreaming that I am the king? And the guru gave a very nice reply. The guru said, you are neither the beggar, you are not the king. Then who are you? You are that consciousness which illumines both. So, non apprehension of my true nature as consciousness makes me feel I am the jiva, and then we give relative reality to this waking and the dream. Vedanta says the example of the rope and the snake. That the snake appears on the rope because of the non apprehension of the rope. Now, this non apprehension of the rope produces the snake. The snake is an illusion, it is not real. But it is produced by whom? It is not produced by the rope, it is produced by the non apprehension. Same way, this entire world, waking world, dream world, is not produced by the truth. The non apprehension of the truth makes the truth appear as the world. This is an important point to understand. We say God created the world. That's a very fundamental um, explanation, which is fine. At a simple level, one has to say that if there is an effect, there has to be a cause. If the world is there, there has to be a cause. That cause is God. This whole world came from God, so God created the world. But at a deeper level, when we go into Vedanta, then we understand that the rope does not produce the snake at all. The rope is appearing as the snake because of the non-apprehension of the rope. The non-apprehension of the rope leads to the misapprehension that it is a snake. So in the same way, non-apprehension of the truth as pure consciousness, we misapprehend the truth as this whole world, including this body, mind, intellect. So once I forget my true nature as pure consciousness, then I identify with myself as this one body, and then the waking becomes real and then the dream becomes real. Imagine in the deep sleep, when this identification with the body is not there, there is no waking, no dream. There's nothing. So the snake, which was an illusion, was not produced by the rope, it was produced by the non-apprehension of the rope. That is an important point to understand. In the course material is a very nice line on page 3 on the top. The reality by itself does not create the world, just as the rope did not create the snake. In other words, the misapprehension of the snake was caused by the non-apprehension of the rope and not by the rope itself. Similarly, the phenomenal world is created by the non-apprehension of the reality termed as avidya or ignorance of the self, and not by the reality itself. This paragraph, please mark, this requires proper thinking. One should reflect on that more and more. That the non-apprehension of the truth within me, which is called as avidya, ignorance, is making me feel I am this jiva. And once I am the jiva, then this world appears very real to me. Like we said, the waking world appears real when I identify with the body. The dream world appears very real when I identify with the mind. Each time that particular world appears very, very real. And it has a relative reality. Nobody denies that. But it is not the absolute truth. We have forgotten who we are. And those relative identities have become our absolute identities. So we think of ourselves only as, the jivas. Mr. So and so, son of so and so, father of so and so, friend of so and so. Those are the relative identities which we have taken up. But who am I truly? That I have forgotten. Now, because I've forgotten who am I, that my nature is infinite pure consciousness. Now I think I am this one limited body, one jiva. And this one jiva then wants happiness, so runs in the world outside. And then feels that this world is separate, I am separate, God is separate. Who created me and this world? God created. So God is to be blamed. But the fact is, I am that pure consciousness. I only have forgotten. The example of the waking and dream helps here. The waker is lying on the bed and the waker has forgotten himself as the waker. And now the waker has assumed the identity of a dreamer and projected the whole dream world. And all the dream world, dream happiness, dream sorrow, dream activities, everything is real to that dreamer. And that dreamer then identifies in that also with one character and thinks that the dream world is separate, dream character is separate, dreamer is separate. Now who created this dream? The dreamer created. But the fact is that that dreamer only is that one character is not the one character. The one character is the dreamer who is the waker also. Now forgetting oneself as the waker, one has assumed identities and then projected the whole world. In the same way here, that when we don't know who we are as pure consciousness, then we think that we have become the jiva and then we have given reality to the world, separated the world and God from us, and then all the three, there is a continuous conflict. So this non-apprehension is called as avidya, ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of my true nature as the self, as pure consciousness. This ignorance in the individual is called avidya. The ignorance which is there in the totality, in all the other beings also, is called as Maya. So this Maya is the power of Brahman, which creates the creation. Like the waker's power is the power to dream. Now the waker invokes the power to dream and becomes the dreamer and projects the whole dream world. Same way, Brahman, which is my pure consciousness, my nature, invokes this power of Maya, becomes Ishvara. So this equation you should write down: Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. Ishwar and Brahman are not different. Please remember. Like right now, I am speaking using the power of speech. So I become a speaker. Even when I am not speaking, I remain the same. Whether I am speaking or not speaking, I am same entity. Without speaking, I am a non-speaker. When I invoke the power of speaking, I become a speaker. But entity is same. So don't mix up, don't confuse that they are two separate things. No. Brahman, using the power of Maya, becomes Ishwar. And this Brahman and Maya, what is their connection? This Maya depends on Brahman. Maya and Brahman are together. Brahman can remain without Maya. Maya cannot remain without Brahman. Like the power of speaking requires me, the locus. I can remain without speaking, but the speech cannot happen without me. So this Brahman and Maya, they are together. Maya is the inherent power of Brahman. Just like the heat is the inherent power of the fire. Now in that way, Brahman and Maya, this is their connection. This Maya is the power which creates the whole world. Brahman by itself doesn't do anything. It is changeless, pure, infinite consciousness. Now, this is why it is important to understand this fact of Maya. Brahman is changeless, infinite, absolute truth, and by definition, infinite is that which does not change. How can the changeless, absolute truth, which is beyond time, space, and object, produce this changing world? It is not possible for the changeless to produce anything because infinity cannot produce anything. It cannot change. Because if it changes, production means some change. What was not there earlier now comes into being. Then it becomes finite. It doesn't remain infinite. So that infinite does not change. And yet we have a changing world which is there. Now from where did that come? So this Maya is that power which makes the infinite appear as the changing. The changeless appears as the changing. The infinite appears as the finite. Remember, infinite has not become the finite. It only appears. Like the waker has not actually become the dreamer. But using the power of dreaming, the waker assumes the identity of a dreamer. So that's the power of Maya. So Maya is what we worship in this, Navaratri will begin from tomorrow. This Maya Shakti is what we are worshipping, that, oh mother, please help me to realize my true nature. Remove this veiling where I don't know who am I. As a Jiva, I am praying to that primordial Shakti of the Supreme Brahman, which as Brahman is my own power, but I've forgotten that. So I'm identifying with one body, mind, intellect. So this Maya is the cause of creation, not Brahman. Maya makes Brahman appear as the changing world. And hence, how does this Maya function? This Maya has three gunas: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These three gunas we have done earlier. So this Sattva guna is peace, knowledge, happiness, balance, equanimity, innovation, creativity, all this. Rajoguna is dynamism, activity, ambition, goals, and along with that, attachment, greed, insecurity, Rajoguna. And Tamoguna is ignorance, laziness, lethargy, procrastination, carelessness, those things. So now these three gunas, Maya is of the nature of three gunas. And these three gunas in different permutations and combinations create the entire variety of this world. All the three gunas, they go together. And all the three are required. Inactivity, activity, inactivity, all are required. But the harmful effects of all are not required. Like Tamoguna is required for sleep, Rajoguna is required for activity, Sattva-guna is required for quietude. But the binding aspects of this is not required. Laziness, lethargy, procrastination is the binding aspect of tamas, that is not required. Greed, insecurity, attachment is a binding aspect of rajas, not required. Inflexibility, born out of attachment to knowledge, one's own opinion, that is not required. So a combination of sattva, rajas, tamas makes this entire universe, all the pluralities because of that. Now, this sattva, rajas, tamas is the texture, and depending on this will be our experience of the truth also. So I became from pure Brahman, I forgot myself, became this Jiva. Now as a Jiva, I am a combination of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. How will I again realize my true nature? As long as I am in Tamas and Rajas, I will be bound. I have to come to Sattva Guna. So the example given for that is, there is a bucket of water and there is a reflection of the sun in the bucket of water. Now if the water is dirty and muddy, the reflection will be absolutely dull. If the water is sufficiently purified and it is relatively quieter, reflection will be more clearer. But when the water is completely purified, it becomes absolutely still, there is no movement at all, then that is when the reflection will be crystal clear. Gurudev used to say, when depth is without mud, the surface will reflect clearly the brilliant beauty of the heavens above. The depth has to be without mud. If the mud is there in the depth, the whole water will be dirty, muddy, reflection will be dull. So now that bucket of water represents our own body and the mind. Mind is the water, body is the bucket. And the sun is Brahman. That Brahman is reflecting in this bucket of water. If the mind is purified, then the reflection will be very clear and the person realizes, I am pure consciousness. That's how one removes avidya. But if the mind is not clear, it is not pure, it has a lot of rajas and tamas, even though the truth is reflecting, I will still not realize who am I. And hence the sadhana process of how to cleanse and purify one's own mind. Another example given for the same idea is the mirror. When the mirror is clean, one can see the reflection very clearly. But when the mirror is not clean, there is a lot of dust on that. Then one has to scrub, one has to remove that dust. When one removes that dust, one sees the reflection. The beauty of this example is the reflection is seen in the mirror, but the realization happens here. The reflection is seen as an image in the mirror, but the realization happens that I am this. In the same way, when Sattva Guna is there predominantly, then one will transcend that Sattva Guna also, come to realize my nature is beyond the three gunas. So predominantly we need to become Sattvic. This Rajas and Tamas, as long as it is there, I cannot perceive the self clearly. Even if I hear about it, even if somebody tells me, even if I learn the Mahavakya, still I cannot realize because the mind has not been cleansed. So Vedanta gives a lot of emphasis on sadhana. That we have to do sadhana to purify this mind of Rajas and Tamas. Now, just as the individual is influenced by Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the entire universe, as we said, Maya is the power which projects the entire universe. It makes Brahman appear as the world. So this Maya, when it is functioning through the totality, as we saw, Brahman plus Maya becomes Ishvara. This Ishvara is the creator, sustainer and destroyer, which we call in Vedanta as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So this Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is the concept, is understanding of the Trinity. Now please remember, when we come to Vedanta, this is not only symbolic. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara, and that Ishvara is represented as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Don't think this is only a concept. The reality, like the waker, has used the power of dreaming and become the dreamer. The dreamer exists. We cannot say the dreamer is not there. Dreamer is only a concept. A dreamer cannot be a concept, because the dreamer is nothing but the waker. And the dreamer is the creator of the dream world, sustainer of the dream world, and destroyer of the dream world. Today, a lot of people say, no, they're all symbolic. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are only symbolic. They don't exist. Then who created the world? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is the understanding of Ishvara. That it is Brahman only using the power of Maya has become the totality. And these three things, creation, sustenance and destruction, they are not three separate things. They are all together. Brahmaji creates, Vishnu sustains, Shiva destroys. They are not three independent, separate aspects. Creation and destruction, they will go hand in hand, because any creation means destruction of the previous thing. Like here, Gurudev has given the example that the morning dies, then the afternoon is born. Afternoon dies, evening is born. Evening dies, night is born. So they go together. The seed has to die, then the sapling is born. Sapling dies, plant is born. Like that. The flower dies, fruit is born. They go together. And in between this creation and destruction, there is a little bit of gap that is called the sustenance. So all these three, we may say there are three powers, and no doubt that the three powers are there, but they function together. They are not random and independent. Now, these three are married also appropriately. So Brahmaji is married to Saraswati, because to create we need knowledge. Vishnu Bhagwan is married to Lakshmi Devi, because to sustain we need resources. And Shivji is married to Parvati. To destroy, again, we need the power, primordial power to destroy. That is Prakriti, Maya. Now, this is the beautiful connection that has been given. There are many great masters who have experienced, had the darshan of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh with their respective consorts also. So Vedanta is an important point, is to understand that what is not visible does not mean it does not exist. The Lord exists in that form of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh with their consorts, and the mind which is tuned will experience that reality also. Why this is important to understand here is, we have forgotten our nature as pure consciousness, which is Brahman. We have forgotten our own true nature as Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh also. Because that Brahman only is Ishvara. And that Ishvara only is projecting, appearing as the whole world and become one Jiva. So when I say I am separate, world is separate, God is separate, that is out of ignorance. Because tamas veils the truth, rajas projects something else. That's the mechanism of tamas and rajas. Now I forget who am I, then I think I am the Jiva. Now once I am the Jiva, world is separate, God is separate. But what is Vedanta telling us? Are you are only that Ishvara also. You are only the world. And you are only that Brahman. That whole oneness we have forgotten. Why have we forgotten that? because we have ignorance of the true nature. So just like earlier we said, we are a combination of these three gunas. Now these three gunas, when they are functioning in us, they are the reason of the three. Tamas and Rajas are the reason why we have forgotten this. So what has Tamas done to us? So Tamas and Rajas together, they are called as the impurities of the mind. So when Tamas is there, what has one done? One has forgotten one's own true nature. That is called veiling power. Tamas veils, avarana shakti it is. And Rajas is a vikshepa shakti. So this veiling power, how does the veiling power function? When there is lot of tamas in the mind, I don't know the truth. Even if I know the truth, when I have heard somewhere, I can't understand what is the truth. Because tamoguna does not allow the mind to think properly. It is delusion. Ignorance and delusion are predominant in tamoguna. So, first of all, I don't know. You see, if we are left to ourselves, it will take us millions of years to even understand that there's something called self, to know something called self exists. Before I came to Vedanta, I had no idea there is something called self. Because we live autopilot mode. The body is functioning on its own, and one day body will die. We're living life like that. When one comes to Vedanta and realizes, oh, there is something else that is enlivening this body. So tamas, lot of people say that what is need of religion? Why should we come to all this? We will realize by time by ourselves only. It is all subjective, individual conclusions one can draw, one can grow. You want to reinvent the wheel, reinvent, take millions of years. There are people who have already done it. They have experienced it. Wise people, time tested wisdom is there. So why not use it? So tamas makes me not even inquire into what is the truth, what is the reality. I don't know, nor I want to know. Tamoguna. Suppose by some chance I even come to know. Somebody took me to some lecture, somewhere I heard. Because tamas is so much in the mind, I say, no, I can't understand. This is all very complex. And suppose I come to understand a little bit also. I say, I don't have any experience of it. Because tamas is so much that even if I understand little bit intellectually, okay, I am pure consciousness, or the body is functioning because of self, it is not functioning on its own. Still, experience is not there. So now when I don't know the self, I can't understand, I can't experience. This is tamoguna, which is called avarana. It has put a veiling on the self. Whenever there is a veiling or non-apprehension, it doesn't remain there. There will be a misapprehension. Like when I don't see the rope, it doesn't remain there. In the place of rope, I see the snake. So then comes a misapprehension. Misapprehension is a vikshepa shakti, which is of rajoguna. And what does this vikshepa shakti do? Vikshepa shakti projects the same self, which is infinite, as a finite being. So then I become the jiva. I have a body. I have five senses of knowledge. I have five senses of action. I have five pranas. I have mind, intellect, memory, ego. Then there is one causal body, karana sharira. So I become one limited jiva, like the dream character. One character in the dream. I have forgotten that I am one with the dream world. I am the dreamer. I am the waker. One has forgotten all that because of Maya. Sorry, because of this tamoguna. And then one has projected oneself as one character in the dream. So the same self, which is all this, now forgets itself as that and now has become this one limited jiva. So this is how we fall. from the supreme state of consciousness to the state of jiva, we have fallen because of ignorance, and ignorance makes this misapprehension happen. So tamoguna is ignorance which veils the truth. Rajoguna is the projecting power which makes me think I am this jiva. These two powers will bind us. These are the powers of Maya. But the same Maya power has Sattva Guna. The rise of the man is the more and more I live in self-control, Sattva Guna will increase. More I train my senses, I will be able to withdraw from the senses, turn within. Right now, senses are extroverted. Sense control is required for that matter. That how to turn within slowly, 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 so that we are able to contemplate steadily, listen carefully, reflect properly, contemplate steadily, and realize the truth. That is the process of Sattva Guna. But for that, I have to train my senses to turn within. So self-control is very important. Then what do I need along with that self-control? I also need to study, understand from a teacher that how I am the self, I am not the body, mind and intellect. So Shravanam has to be done. As I keep doing Shravanam, listen to the teacher properly with full single pointedness, with the mind not being distracted, with the senses not troubling me with temptations. The knowledge will go inside. When the knowledge goes inside, it will automatically create doubts. How can I be Brahman? I am this body, I am born, I am limited, and Brahman is unborn, unlimited, infinite consciousness. How can I be this? So then the doubts will come. So then what should I do? I should reflect using the scriptural logic and experiential proof. The more and more I reflect, I will get intellectual conviction that yes, I am Brahman. Now, when I get intellectual conviction, that still does not transform my experience. A lot of people say, I know all this, but I don't experience. Yes, because the mind is not purified yet. So do the sadhanas to purify the mind. Vrata, japa, tapa, upvas, yajna, dana. So many sadhanas are there. As you purify the mind, continue to do both. Purify the mind as well as study and reflect. Swadhyay. Sadhana, Sanyam, Swadhyay, Seva. Four things. Swadhyay is study spiritual literature, Vedanta especially. Then Sanyam is live in self-control. Then Sadhana is spiritual practices. Puja, Japa, Tapa, Upvas, Yajna, Dana, all these. Then Seva, selfless service. If I do these four, this Rajoguna and Tamoguna will transform, will get away into Sattvaguna. As the mind becomes more and more sattvic, the mind remains quieter. And in that quiet mind, I can contemplate steadily that yes, I am Brahman, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am not this Jiva. As I contemplate steadily, what happens? This false notion that I am the Jiva dissolves. That ignorance that I am the Jiva goes completely. When that ignorance goes, non-apprehension goes. One wakes up to realize, Arey, I am that Brahman. It's like waking up from the dream. That waker realizes, Arey, I am the waker. Unnecessary, I thought I am one dream character and one tiger was chasing me and then I got very scared that I will get killed. I woke up in a shock. Then what did one realize? Arey, I was the waker all the time. The knowledge of my status as a waker destroys the entire false notion of the dreamer, the dream world, the dream characters, and in that dream characters, one is me. That whole thing destroyed. one wakes up to realize I am absolute truth. So now this is called the fall of the man and rise of the man. That how a human being falls because of one's own ignorance, and how one has to rise by increasing the sattva guna, reducing rajas and tamas. So tamas goes when I do tapas, tamas goes when I do become dynamic, I have ambitions, I have goals. Then rajas comes. So rajoguna then is overcome by sattva guna, by sadhana, seva, sanyam, swadhyay. And from sattva guna also I transcend through nididhyasan, through steady contemplation. I transcend the sattva guna also and realize that I am beyond the three gunas, I am that pure Brahman. Then I transcend Maya also, I transcend Ishvara also, I become one with that Supreme. So this is what is given in this chapter. And there is this chart. I'm just going to share that chart with you. This chart is what is the summary of what we just learned. Now this is the chart. In this, what we see, the left hand side is the descent of mind. So forgetting my nature as Om, this Om is Brahman. This Brahman using the power of Maya, and this Maya has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So as far as the God principle is concerned, Ishvara is concerned, Ishvara does not have Rajas and Tamas. Ishvara functions only out of pure Sattva, and that Ishvara becomes Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the creator. Please remember, who is the creator? I, Brahman, using my power of Maya, have become the creator, sustainer, destroyer. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Now to create, sustain and destroy, I need knowledge, I need resources, and I need the destructive power to annihilate. So Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati. This is Ishvara. Now that Ishvara, when he creates the whole world, so many jivas, so many inert things, all this is created by that Ishvara. In that, one jiva is me. I have forgotten my true nature as Ishvara, my nature as Brahman. I identify with one body. And when I identify with one body, why is that happening? Because of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Tamas, as you see, the veiling power, Tamas and Rajas, the power of Maya, they have these two, these two are combined as Mala. This is the impurity. And Tamas projects, Tamas manifests as veiling power, Avarana, and Rajas manifests as Vikshepa, the tossing power or projecting power. So what does the veiling power do? Veiling power veils the truth. I don't know the truth. I can't understand the truth. I don't have experience of the truth. And projecting power or the tossing power projects the individual, projects the self as the individual. So I have the individual, I the individual am the unmanifest vasanas, the manifest subtle body, then the organs of perception, organs of action. Now I have become one jiva. So from the state of Om, which is pure consciousness, I have fallen to the state of jiva because of ignorance and false projection. Because of tamas and rajas, I have forgotten who am I and fallen to this state. This is the left side, descent of the man. Right side, when it says ascent of the man, how will the man rise? So I have to live in self-control. So that is not mentioned in this diagram here, but these organs of action, organs of perception, I have to train them properly. Not to be extroverted, to live in proper self-control, enjoy in moderation, don't take harmful pleasures. So that's the training of the senses called self-control. Then I have to purify the mind, which is the manifest. How to purify the mind? So all this what we learn, no? Swadhyay, seva, sadhana, that is to purify the mind. With such a mind, what should I do? I should listen to the truth, Shravanam. Reflect on the truth, Mananam. And then do Nididhyasana. When I do this Nididhyasana, I will transcend tamas also, rajas also, sattva also, and I will come back to my true nature as Om. And when I realize my nature as Om or Brahman, then what happens? The entire realm from Maya downwards, I start seeing this only as Brahman. Till now I was seeing different. I am different, God is different, world is different. Now I see all the three are appearance of one thing only. Same pure consciousness appears as the creator, God, appears as the whole creation. So everything in this creation is divine and worshipful, and appears as the jiva also, the individual. So the sense of limitation goes away, fear, sorrow, anxieties, stress, everything gone. That is how the person rises back to realize one's own true nature. This chart may be little confusing, but if the concept is understood properly, then that is fine. Because under tamas it is given Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. So that is a little confusing part. The idea there is that because of tamas I don't know, because of tamas I can't understand, I can't have experience. So the Shravanam helps me to remove all that. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. I cannot do that properly until tamoguna is there. So I need to do sadhana to overcome tamas and rajas and then come to sattva guna when I can listen, reflect, meditate and realize the absolute truth. So that's a little bit of a clarity we must have when we go through this chart. So this is what this whole chapter is about. This completes lesson 13. And this lesson 14 is the summary of the earlier lesson. So this part 2 of this Vedanta course, lesson 14 is the summary of that.